Good afternoon, everyone. All right. And welcome to the New Jersey Black Issues Convention, Souls to the Polls Forum. My name is Reverend Gary Green. I am the founder of the I Am Movement, Interfaith Action Movement, and also former senior advisor for diversity, faith, urban, and regional growth for our Governor Phil Murphy. It is my honor today to be here and to be here with our esteemed panel, who I'm going to introduce both of them, and then we will hear opening remarks first from Secretary of State Taisha Wade. And Reverend Dr. Kenneth Clayton from the new St. Luke Baptist Church in Patterson, Georgia. Taisha Wade serves as Secretary Taisha Wade Esquire, serves as New Jersey's 34th Secretary of State, nominated for appointment by Governor Phil Murphy on December 18, 2017. Ms. Wade was sworn in on February 26, 2018. As Secretary of State, Mrs. Wade holds one of the nation's oldest constitutional offices and leads the department with a diverse portfolio. She serves as New Jersey's top election official, overseeing the State Division of Elections, and has worked in securing our democracy and ensuring broad, fair access to the right to vote. Mrs. Wade also chaired New Jersey's Complete Count Commission, a 27-member nonpartisan commission established to achieve a complete count in the 2020 U.S. Census. Reverend Dr. Kenneth Clayton, St. Luke Baptist Church, Patterson, New Jersey, is the senior pastor of that church. A native of Patterson, he is the oldest of 3 children born to Vivian Clayton and the late George Clayton, and is a product of schools in Patterson. And at a young age, he confessed Christ as his personal Savior, was baptized, and became a member of the Shiloh Baptist Church of Patterson. After acknowledging his call to the preaching ministry, he was licensed by the Shiloh Church on September 18, 1988. He is active within the ranks of the Baptist denomination, having served in a variety of capacities within the national, state, and local levels of the Baptist family. He is a former associate editor of the National Baptist Voice, former statistician and board member of the National Baptist Convention USA Incorporated, and past president of the United Missionary Baptist Convention of New Jersey. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our panelists on this afternoon. And we're going to first allow our panelists to make opening statements. And we're going to start with Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Reverend Green. Good afternoon, all. It is such a blessing to be before you at the NJ Big Conference, I tell you. And I feel further blessed to serve as your Secretary of State, overseeing a diverse portfolio. I oftentimes tell folk, that's what they say. I oftentimes tell folk, I lead one of the smallest departments in our state, but I call it the mightiest due to the diversity in portfolios, ranging anywhere from Division of Travel and Tourism, our cultural commissions, God bless you, arts, historical, and the Business Action Center. And I'm also proud to serve, as the Rev has noted, as New Jersey's chief election official. And it is really because I know that people such as myself were denied the right to vote historically. So it is a true blessing to serve in this position. Now, I also serve as the president of the National Association of Secretaries of State, and I raise this because the National Association of Secretaries of State, or as it's called, NAS, was founded 118 years ago. But this summer, I was elected as the first African-American president. To God be the glory, we do that truly. I understand how important it is to have folk like us in these roles. I never take it for granted. This is such a powerful and privileged position to have. Our votes are powerful, okay, and significant. And the key here is to ensure that all New Jerseyans can cast their ballots free and fair. Voting, as I oftentimes say, is the floor and the foundation to other significant rights and privileges. When we vote, we are making choices about what kind of place we want to live in, where we want our various issues to lay, and of course, how we want to be treated by our government. And I know I too, Reverend Clayton, found the Lord early in my life thanks to my parents, and understand the value of churches to our communities. And so we're here today to speak about souls to the polls. Just hearing that should bring such emotion within all of us. We are in an inflection moment in time. As such, we truly need souls to the polls, and we're going to really delve into that now in the year of 2022, how we can carry it, modernize it, and make certain that all voices are heard. You know, I always remember what my dad, he no longer is here, but I carry him in my heart, used to tell me. It was two of us, my older brother and myself, and he would say, you know what? I am so blessed to know that my kids have gone on to college, unlike your mom and me. But there's one thing that I will always cherish and hold true and make certain every single time I show up to, because of those before him, is to vote. So hopefully this will be a conversation that we not just keep in these four walls, if you will, of this auditorium at Kane, but it is truly something that we can carry forward out on the streets. I'm nonpartisan as an appointed Secretary of State, but the key is there's access in New Jersey, and we want everyone who is eligible to participate. Thank you.
Outstanding.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to be here. I am, as Reverend Green said, I'm pastor of St. Luke Baptist Church in Patterson. I'm also president of the pastor of NAACP. I'm honored to be here to talk about the vital and pivotal role that the church plays in getting souls to the polls and getting people to vote. Too often we minimize the work and the work of the church in our local community, particularly the Black church. And as a preacher and as a pastor, it is my goal that we will reimagine and renew our understanding of the pivotal role the church plays, and not just providing mandates for ills in our community, but for changing systems. The pivotal way that we change systems begins with the vote. As Tisha said, our Secretary of State said, that the vote affects everything. Who gets in office, what those people do, how what they do affects us at local and national levels. So it's important that we understand the role that we play in making it happen, and that we have to ensure that in every single election, whether it's a city election, a county election, state, federal election, that we are encouraging and promoting the vote, getting people to the polls, because votes matter. If we have no votes, we have no power.
Outstanding. Outstanding. We're going to start right now, get right into it, about the threat to democracy that is happening as we speak. 2015, I worked a campaign, I ran a campaign in St. Kitts and Nevis. To make a long story short, the opposition parties over there came together and formed Team Unity. And we were successful at winning the the majority of the seats in Parliament, which meant that we became the ruling party. The night that we won, the Prime Minister, his name is Dr. Denzel Douglas, decided that he did not want to give up the office and that he was going to go back to his constituency and call the games to storm the Parliament House. And so they took us all into a safe location, and we were guarded by officers until different prime ministers from around the region called him and said, "You must concede, you must step down, you have lost the election," and he finally did so. And by the way, he didn't spend the next 3 years saying that the election was stolen. I'm not going to get partisan, Madam Secretary. but Reverend Clayton can. Democracy is not a partisan issue. Madam Secretary, do you believe that our democracy is under attack?
You know, I always say that democracy is a team sport, okay? Let's lay it first there. And I also say, yes, our democracy is under attack. Prior to coming here, I was actually a participant in a national security, if you will, panel discussion with press. And of course, the discussion had to do with various layers of threats to our democracy. And I want to start with, and again, I'm nonpartisan here, but the idea that there's fraud in elections when we know that there is no widespread election fraud. Just the competency of our information that is out there. I know that folk here may have heard of misinformation, disinformation. Those are really strong forms of voter suppression. You may not think that someone advising you where you go to cast your ballot on election day, your polling location, and they give you the misinformation about that is important, but it is. So I know my team and I have really made it a top priority for our voters not to A, just register to vote. Remember, the deadline to register to vote is October 18th, okay? And even if you feel as though that, okay, I am registered, please check your voter registration status. It is very simple. Go to vote.nj.gov, please, because what happens is voters may go to a polling location, didn't know that they didn't change or update their address, etc., and then there may be an issue. Okay, so let's start with voter registration. Make a plan is number 2. I mention this because making a plan to vote in New Jersey, you have 3 ways. On election day, November 8th, the early voting period, October 29th through November 6th, or voting by mail. In that making of a plan, I oftentimes advise voters, like I'll do tonight at a sorority election panel forum, please become an educated and informed voter, knowing your rights, knowing what information that is out there. There are actors, bad actors out there, we're all on social media now, who are bringing forth inaccurate information to you. I recall one election day, I think it was about in 2019, my team was getting calls because we have a hotline, 1-877-NJ-VOTER, if you have any concerns prior to election day and on election day. We were actually getting calls that folk were getting text messages from Michelle Obama, okay, telling them where they needed to go to vote, okay? That's a form of voter suppression, and that's another form of it being under attack, okay? I also speak about the attack on the election officials, such as myself, that's going on. And it's, to my surprise, it's trickling now in New Jersey. Everyone always thinks that all of this, because it's more public, is happening in the quote-unquote battleground states. But there are various threats that are getting leveled against election officials such as myself. And I mention this because the election workers, not me, I'm talking about our board workers, I'm talking about our poll workers, are really at the front lines of our democracy. And we want to continue to ensure that we have that bench, that stable bench who are going to man the polls and who aren't going to feel like, why am I doing this when I can get threatened? So there's just two layers of threats to our democracy.
As Madam Secretary said, our democracy is definitely under attack. On January 6th, a year ago, I was in my office, and usually early afternoon I have the TV on because I want to watch I Love Lucy from 1 to 2 in decades. That's part of our personal laughter therapy every day. And so I turned it off. It was after 2 o'clock, and then I started seeing things on social media, so I turned the TV on, and I'm watching what's happening in the Capitol. So a couple hours later, I left the office and went home, and my mom, who lives with me, was in the kitchen. I walked in, and she just kept saying, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. She's like, I can't believe that what I witnessed as a child is not happening in my senior years. It is the most painful thing. In light of the Barack Obama election in 2008, 2012, we have reached what we thought the peak of the highest thing that black people ever see in terms of elections in America and perhaps in the world. And we have gone from the top of that mountain to the bottom of the valley in a matter of minutes. The clock is being rolled back, and the people who are engaged in this war on our democracy are intent on dismantling it and ensuring that people like us will never, ever, ever have access and opportunity to up mobility and power in America again. We have to see that as an attack. We have to fight back viciously, violently, and vigilantly, not to let their desires become what happens in our country.
I just came back from Georgia yesterday. There's a big election there. Senator Raphael Warnock is running for re-election against Herschel Walker. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then you have a gubernatorial race with Stacey Abrams. You could have the first African-American governor in the history of Georgia. Now, Georgia has put together a series of laws that suppress the right to vote. In New Jersey, though, under the leadership of our governor and our Secretary of State, Madam Secretary, I want you to talk to the audience here about the things that we have done in New Jersey to fight back against voter suppression.
Yeah, I always say that it's a wonderful thing to be a voter in the great state of New Jersey. And there's no excuse for eligible voters not to participate. And I do want to, and I'm coming from a good place with this, Reverend, when I say what I'm about to say. I want and I encourage all eligible voters to vote. But when I look at the participation numbers, okay, I'm going to start with 2020. I was proud to see that in 2020, New Jersey led the nation in youth voter participation. Yes, we did. We also, for the first time, I believe, came in number 8 in voter participation. That was the greatest amount of turnout we had. However, and I'm coming from a good place when I say this. It is an eye-opener when you see the low voter participation in our inner cities.
Yeah, that's right.
An eye-opener. That's all I'm gonna say, and lay it right there. This is a team sport, my friends. You're in this audience. You have to ensure, for those who fought vigorously
Yes.
for the right to vote.
Yes.
I'm talking about, I know in 2020, we also celebrated the 19th Amendment, when women could cast a vote. Still, we had indigenous women, Latinas, African American women still did not have the right to vote. The Rev has made a valid point. In New Jersey, there is no excuse.
That's right.
Go to vote.nj.gov. Myself, my Division of Elections team members are here to help if there needs to be any information that needs to be clarified. Call your local county clerk's offices, your boards of superintendent's offices. Vote on election day, if that's your choice, but oftentimes, some of us work. I no longer can vote with my family like we used to do on election day because I'm up and down checking on polling locations and everything like that. So what do? I either opt to vote by mail, and even my team has a tracker online for your ballot, so you know that your ballot was received, okay? So that clears up the uncertainty as they say, oh, how do you know if your vote has been counted or whatever? Go to the ballot tracker, make your account, and you'll see that it has been received. Voting by mail, you can return it by mail. No disrespect to the Postal Service, but that is not my main choice, because I know how things can be, and I say that respectfully too. We have placed over 300 secure ballot drop boxes in your county.
Wow.
Drop your ballots off. I know mine, one of mine is by a supermarket, and I got to eat. So I drop mine right there because I'm going to eat and get some groceries for my family.
Right.
Thirdly, you can walk into your boards of elections in your counties. And again, if you choose to go to a ballot drop box, it's in your county. Do not say, oh, I'm from Passaic, but I'm at the supermarket in Essex County, let me drop it there. That's not going to work. You have to go to one of your polling locations, and you will find your polling location, your ballot box location on our website, okay? And then thirdly, which was instituted last year, we want to see more folk vote early. We hear about these things. You have October 29th through November 6th, and I'm going to give you the times. If you go and vote early, that's what I've been doing now, using the electronic poll books. They're, very modernized, etc. Monday through Saturday, hours are 10 through 8. You can go to any polling location in your county, or on Sundays, Souls to the Polls. I actually participated in a Souls to the Polls service with Reverend Boyer last year. Excellent service. And everyone was fired up, ready to go right after church, and that is from on Sundays, 10 to 6. So there is no excuse to galvanize those who are around you and to vote.
And Dr. Clayton, to that point, when we talk about souls to the polls, making sure people go to vote, giving people more access to voting, historically, this country has had how many of y'all heard of the literacy test? Poll tax, grandfather clause. These were all ways to suppress our vote. Today we have some of that same strategies out there. Dr. Clayton, talk to us about Souls to the Polls and the success that we have had with Souls to the Polls.
Okay, I'm going to talk about backdoor into it,
Yeah.
connecting what Secretary Sadie said. Secretary Sadie talked about the access that we have to vote. The problem that in our community now is there's an apathy towards voting. I'm 53 years old. The only age I ever went to term was 17 to get my license, and then 18 to be able to vote. Because I grew up, my dad was from Mississippi, my mother's from South Carolina, so I spent most of my summer in South Carolina teaching in my community where most of the people from different parts of the South, all over the country, they impressed upon me as a kid about the importance of voting. The whole notion of poll tax and all that kind of stuff that we learned about in school, learned about in my family, so as a kid, it impressed upon me that when you turn a certain age, you have to vote because that's how you help change the world. Unfortunately, our community now, we have lost that sense of that respect and regard and importance of going to the polls. And it is up to us to reignite a passion and a commitment to voting, because that is the very first way that citizens of America are able to change systems. The Souls to the Poll movement is nothing new. In the African American community, the church has been a focal point of life in the community ever since we've been a community in America. The church in the 50s and 60s galvanized its strength and its energy to ensure that we mobilize people to get them to vote and around other civil rights issues and social issues of our day. We have reignited that passion to, now that we have access to early voting and we're able to vote early, to get people to the voting polls early. They can ensure their place, as a citizen, but they can exercise their rights as citizens, responsibly vote for who they choose to. And churches and black people, even outside the churches, have to take this movement seriously, because it is a way that other communities use to change elections and to elect people that they want that we ignore. So the fact that you don't have to go on election day is a good thing. I'm an old fat, I think I'm still kind of sort of young a little bit, but I have an old mindset. So I'm not early voting, I'm going to vote on election day. Whether I can be sick of the dog, I'm going to get up that Tuesday and go to the poll. That's just me. I'm going to promote every other aspect. I don't want to do it electronically. I want to go there, push that button myself, walk out and know that I've done it. But we have to promote the other means that we are able to vote, because our children and grandchildren and other people, they want the options. We have them. We have to push it to make it happen. But it begins with overcoming the apathy and helping people understand every election matters. Like people say, when people said 2 years ago, what did it matter? The Supreme Court mattered. Mm-hmm. Like we were not saying the things that matter that will help people understand, and it's gone against us now, and it's going to stay that way for probably our lifetime. But we have to help people understand the importance of it, our people, and implore them and encourage them to do. We talk about voting, just like we talk about getting our hair done, our nails done, or we buy our hats, our boots, our ties, whatever, because it's that important. It affects every aspect of our life and living.
2020, big turnout. People were motivated, the presidential, big turnout. But then we see, like Madam Secretary said, Dr. Clayton said the same thing, that the numbers go down. We also see in our municipal elections, county elections, school board elections, the numbers are horrible. We're talking about sometimes 15% turnout, 22% turnout. If that, we got to do something different. And I think that it stems around when you talked about addressing the issue of apathy. Madam Secretary, what are you seeing out there as to why you think people are not voting? And not just, they vote in the presidential, sometimes, but after the presidential, they might vote in the gubernatorial midterm, but after that, it goes way down. Why?
Well, before I even answer that, there's one other aspect of opening up the access to vote, which I failed to advise, and this is something that I don't think even it's been, what, 2 years now and it's still not out there, that those who are serving parole and probation can vote.
Ah, that's right.
Okay, and we need to tell those who are serving parole and probation that they can vote, and they do not have to pay any fines or penalties.
That's right.
Okay, I start with that.
Great.
Now, I'm not on the ground game, right? Because that's separate and apart from what I do.
Sure, sure.
But I know that what oftentimes happens, and this is just through my New Jersey Votes initiative, where we have gathered up different constituencies who we want to be the trusted voices in their communities, because we've heard how voters just do not trust
That's it.
the system.
That's right.
That's why we
Real
said
conversation.
it's real conversation.
That's
So
right.
what we did was we said, okay, we had success with the 2020 census. We'll replicate that model.
Yeah.
And now we're including various constituencies. We're talking about our faith-based communities, our universities, our businesses, our cultural communities, etc., to message to their constituents that you need to have trust in the New Jersey elections process. Here is the education, the toolkits that you would need at our Civic Engage portal.
Yes.
Because I just feel as though there needs to be more of the engagement
Yeah.
and the level of confidence that our voters can have in the system. And I also feel like Anastasia knows this, my special assistant. We rolled out, you gotta be creative too. You gotta try to be creative, and we've tried to do that. We have a college ballot bowl, which is, analogous to football, if you will, in which colleges are broken down in terms of their conferences, and they compete friendly, nonpartisan, on how many folk they can get to vote. We have the Giants players, the Jets players who come and also participate in our kickoff ceremony, which we had at TCNJ several weeks ago. And then we have a touchdown ceremony with trophies to replicate a Super Bowl and commend the students on winning their conferences. And also not only registering, but getting folk to commit
Yes.
to vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that not only through Souls to Polls, there needs to be community, right, moments in which you are getting your friends, your families, your neighbors to not only say, okay, we're going to vote, you're going to commit them to vote and hold each and every one accountable.
That's right. Reverend Clayton, in the last election, the last governor's election, we did a social polls program, nonpartisan social polls program. The beauty of that program was that it took a life of its own. So, for example, in Patterson, the social polls program included churches and mosques, Latino churches. It was a huge effort. In Bergen County, it included churches, but it also included fraternities and sororities, right? And so it took on its own life. Dr. Clinton, do you think we need more of that in order to what Madam Secretary talked about, which was they don't trust the system, right?
We need more of that. We need all of that. Every organization, social clubs, fraternities, sororities, everything. We have to reinvent the conversation about the importance of voting at every level and everything that we do.
Yeah.
Because many of our organizations, churches and others, have become silent and dormant, and our silence has helped contribute to the lack of the voter applicants.
That's
So
right.
yes, every organization, it's not just a voting, it can't be just on an election day. It's a regular conversation about the importance of it that helps our children understand that incites them, that excites them, and makes them want to turn 18 and vote and be part of the process. Like, that's what happened for me. Like, I knew that was a way that was my small way of like throwing a marble in the sea and have a ripple effect. I could change the world with my one vote.
That's right.
We don't speak of it in that way, and we don't make the importance of it, and we don't see it. So we have people that know say, and I heard when they were talking to the panel before, it's not just people who are maybe marginalized or people who are in the hood, but people who we would consider to be intelligent, learned people. I don't want to vote; it's a waste of time. When I hear a black person say that, I cringe.
Yeah.
Because and I want to slap him. Like, I'm like, first I'm like, oh my God, because I want to hit him, because how dare you say that when the vote is what has helped us get where we are.
Yes.
So every organization, whatever they are, whatever we do or pretend to do, that has to be a major piece of it.
Let's keep it there real quickly. So this whole movement, the big lie you're saying is a voter suppression tool.
Right.
Policy and the ground game.
Absolutely.
I think it makes me think of the church in Birmingham that was bombed, 16th Street Baptist. It was bombed because it was a voter registration site.
Right.
And I think that education and history and letting people know people actually gave their lives from a historical standpoint, but also what's real now is there are policy initiatives that are being decided
In this election.
in this election,
Right.
right?
Again, it's what my mom said about turning the clock back. When my mother, she doesn't mind telling me, she was born in 1949. When she was born in 1949, she was eligible to vote.
Wow.
Like, and when I was thinking, I'm like, so I said it to my sons who are 25, I'm like, you know, your dad couldn't vote when she was born. Like, what do you mean she couldn't? So you have to do it. So now she can, she does, but you got to do it because one day she couldn't.
Right.
Like, you know, but again, we have lost our sense of our history, understanding it, and appreciating it. And we are the only group of people in the world probably who want to denounce our history.
Right.
Like, it's painful, some of it is painful, it's hurtful, but that helps us celebrate who we are, what we've achieved, and where we're going. So we have to build on that to inspire us to do better. So yeah, like we have to overcome that stuff. Absolutely.
We're going to open it up. You all are on fire
Yes.
this afternoon. We're going to open up to some questions. If you all have any questions for Madam Secretary Taisha Way or Dr. Kenneth Clayton, you can ask, just raise your hand and I'll acknowledge you. You can, yes, right here. Yeah, come on up, please.
Okay.
Just state your name.
Okay.
I believe you were in the panel before.
Yes, I was a
Yes.
panelist.
Yes. Hello.
Nice to see y'all, nice to have y'all here. My name is Sharonda Allen. I wear many hats. I'm just being general today, right now. But one thing, we have to be cautious of wanting to hit people because they don't vote. Let me tell you why our people don't want to vote
Please.
in urban areas.
Mhm.
Because they see teachers harassed, because the administrators are protected by the people in charge, and they feel powerless. Because I worked the polls in Newark this past spring for the election, and some of the people who are in the Democratic in crowd bullied other people who were running. They bullied residents during the election. That was the tip of the iceberg. People are being bullied daily. Our people are talking about how the Democratic Party has failed us. Although I try to explain the other side is worse, and then they tell me they're two wings of the same bird. But when we do not have sensible, affordable housing, when we have had these LLC boys come into East Orange, Newark, people at the Riviera Hotel right now in Newark are being illegally and unjustly evicted. When we see these things happening, where there is not any real, true, affordable housing for the people to live in and pay rent, they do not want to vote. They have no faith in the system because they feel like the system has failed them. No one will answer them. When the senior citizens have been mistreated, and then the news reporter comes in, does the story, and then some big folks come in from a 3-letter abbreviated organization that is supposed to care and take care of the people, then when they don't help, the people feel powerless. They feel hopeless. I fight all day, every day, trying to get young people to register to vote. I have gotten other generations of them to vote, but I got a group right now, I'm still trying to work on them. But when the people in charge and the Democratic political leaders, and I was just at the convention last week, I was at the racetrack, and I was in Trenton, and they were arguing church and preaching to the choir for people to go out and vote. But the problem is the real people who are not in the inner circle feel neglected, disrespected, they have not been cared for, and these things have not been put in place. And we are about to lose our democracy because you can't wait until October 13th to act like you care and do the right thing overall. If people don't act right now and put all over TikTok and everywhere that yes, here's the application for this affordable housing, we're going to stop these LLC boys from coming in and gentrifying all these neighborhoods, we're going to lose. And nobody will respect democracy because it'll be gone. So if we don't get this stuff done right now, today, you can't slap nobody but the people who've been in charge.
That's right.
And the people who've been bullying the people in the city of Newark. When you got a mayor whose brother bullies people and nobody has checked him, this is why we got a problem. Just that one thing, that's not the only thing. That's one big example. We have to get, right now, get on the horn and set those people straight. If they can be Democrats, groom and train somebody else because that's not working. When you got people running unopposed, thank you for coming. When you got people running unopposed in East Orange because they have, whoever has scared the other people, the opponents to run, we got a problem. And we got to do better. So we can't slap the people who are getting voter suppressed by people who look like them. Because the black folks in charge have decided to create Greek affiliations without trying to take care of the black folks of the skin that they're supposed to be representing.
Man, let me respond. I
Yes.
appreciate everything that you said.
Thank you.
I still say that the way to change that, because I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, black or white, everybody black ain't for us, everybody white ain't against us.
That's right,
Okay?
true.
But the way to change that tide is to come together and vote a specific concern. Not, and I understand what you're
You
saying.
missed what I said. I'm gonna tell you again. I tell people to vote the issues.
Okay.
I took some young people to the Pop-Up Climate Museum on Sunday.
Okay.
And one young man said, "What, vote climate, that's stupid." I said, no. What it means is you should vote for candidates who are in favor of good climate legislation or against those who are in favor of dirty fossil fuels. So you can't tell somebody to just go vote when they don't even have options. And they know that they're voting, but yet there's bullies who are bullying them at the poll who look like them.
Understood.
So if you don't find whoever to pass down an edict today and put it there and say, we are not accepting any more bullying in our cities from this party, then you're gonna lose them. So you can't just tell them to go vote, because I vote all the time, but I also do the footwork. But the difference is for those young people that I do the footwork for, they have no faith in this system.
So if you,
Can I-
sure,
Can I just
absolutely.
chime in?
Yes, ma'am,
Absolutely.
please.
Absolutely.
Sure. Again, I'm nonpartisan.
Yes,
I'm appointed.
yes,
I strictly stay laser focused to the process, respectfully.
yes.
Okay? When I know that I mentioned to folk and encourage everyone to vote, again, is coming from a historical perspective.
Yes.
And that's it.
Mhm.
In addition to candidates, there are oftentimes various ballot referendums and questions, regardless of, and I'm not being dismissive of what you have said, but there are questions which deal with the school budget. There's questions, constitutional amendments that are long-term, right? We knew that wasn't recreational
Cannabis.
cannabis up there.
Yes,
okay, to somewhat say, okay, if even, you know, if it's not that we don't care for a particular candidate, we're still going to historically, right? And that's where I come from.
Me too, yes.
Okay, because it's always too much for this to be at stake. And going back to what Reverend Clayton said, I know that we may not see this like clearly every single day, but the power of being enfranchised brings out other careers and opportunities. I know that as Secretary of State, I believe, like the governor, in inclusiveness. So, given now, folk can vote for someone, you know, I can vote for, you know, cast my ballot and I can serve as a Secretary of State. I can now be in a place where my department looks like it should be diverse.
I love it.
Okay?
And can we get civics back in the school?
That was gonna be,
No,
exactly, and that's my point, and that's why my team and I started the NJ Civic Engage. Check it out.
I got the webinar on my phone right now.
There you go. There you go. 'Cause I'm always doing this webinar. Y'all see, and I'm gonna have an animated character out there too next week. Okay? Tahisha's Tuesdays. And y'all go to see Tahisha's Tuesday.
That's great.
And she's wearing her pink and green.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But on a serious note, you're right, civics. And I'm glad you mentioned this because you know something, as I tell our kids, all kids, you don't have to run for something. You can try to be on a planning board. I mentioned that. That is significant and powerful in every single town.
Well,
There are different ways that you can serve publicly.
some things are not open though.
And-
And the same
and-
way
and
I sent my information to be on the state board, nobody got back to me and they appointed who they wanted. So one thing I'm gonna say to y'all, the young people see real live, not what they heard, what happens with me. And I'm so grateful that you're here and I love what you're doing, because like I said, it started at 3 o'clock. So at the same time, we have to, and in your position, I don't know where I need to report it, but we have to check these other skin folks that are doing wrong and deterring our people, because historically people bled and got beat up and died and went to jail for this right to vote. I know, but I'm one of the only people on the ground telling these kids, and sometimes they're not gonna get the link for the website. They're not gonna know. So this is why people are not voting. I'm letting you know why they're not. We can't beat them up. We got a little more mercy and compassion for our people. And I appreciate you because you are doing the work. But we gotta also know what the barriers are.
Thank you, my sister. Thank you. Any other questions? Give us your name again, Reverend?
Sharon Allen.
Sharon Allen.
Thank
Amen. All right, any other questions from the audience? While you're thinking, I do want to recognize the presence of Reverend Dr. Kimberly Holmes, Esquire. She is the Chief of Staff to the Department of Community Affairs, making history as the first African American ever in the history of BCA as their Chief of Staff. Let's give her a round of applause. I also see Dr. Tuff in the back. One of our kings of Wakanda in New Jersey, someone who is on the front lines for the diversity, equity, and inclusion movement, particularly in renewable energy. And we respect you highly, Dr. Tuff. And I also see Trustee Brenda Lee as well, who is here from BIC as well, and one of our leading principals in the city of Newark. Any other questions from anyone? Okay, we're going to have closing Wow, it's 3:45. We're going to have our closing remarks from our panelists. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. I know both of them extremely well, and I'm going to tell you they are on the front lines. On the front lines for many years, both of them. They're young. They're so young to be doing it so long, even though Greg Clayton is older than me. Yeah, you got some stripes, I know. Amen. So we're gonna let our Madam Secretary go first, and then Dr. Clayton, you close it out for us.
Okay. Again, thank you, Reverend Green, and everyone who came and for our for this important panel, because voting is very important. It is the floor to all of our rights, and I'm so thankful that I can be an active participant with each and every one of you. I also just want to mention as I close that a reminder of voter registration, October 18th. You can go online actually to vote, to register to vote. And we do have automatic voter registration at your local motor vehicle. So the options are there for each and every one of you to cast your ballot. And I'm just going to be hopeful come November 9th that we have all satisfied, our essential right in making certain that not only your own personal voice is heard, but those who we carry with ourselves historically, can be heard. Thank you.
Before Dr. Clayton goes to close this out, let's give our Madam Secretary, Aisha Wade, Secretary of State of New Jersey, a round of applause. I also want to recognize the presence of the chairwoman of the New Jersey Black Issues Convention, Reva Foster. I want everybody to remember that. I oftentimes compare our towns and cities, our state to Wakanda. And if this was Wakanda, Reva would be the queen. And I mean that. I mean that. You are a leader, and we respect you. You are a fighter for Black issues. And Black issues impacts everyone, not just Black people. And so we thank God for your leadership. Dr. Clayton, close us out.
Very, very quickly. One of our fraternal organizations has coined this phrase programmatically that the voteless people is the hopeless people. If we don't have and use the vote properly, then we have no hope. Hope is someone has defined hope as the expectation of something good. When I have hope, no matter what it looks like in the moment, I know it can become better.
Yeah.
So my vote is an expression of my hope. I may not change it the first time, the second time, and I'm going to keep on doing it until it gets changed. That's what our forebearers did. That's what we must do. So we cannot lose hope. We cannot stop voting. Voting is our hope. It is our expression of power to change systems, to make them serve the people that our country is designed to serve, to make our country and world better.
I'll leave you with, amen. Let's give Dr. Clayton a round of applause. Amen. I leave you with this. First of all, thank you all for coming out. Spending time here at the New Jersey Black Issues Convention at the Souls to the Polls panel. And I just leave you with this, one of my favorite quotes of Dr. King. I was just in Atlanta for a few days and went by the King Center, went by down there Auburn Avenue at the Ebenezer Baptist Church. And I thought of this as we were talking, that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Let's fight to keep our democracy. Whoever you know, family, friends, we are under attack, but justice will win. God bless you. Thank you.